This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. Ever feel like you're being pushed or pulled in more directions than you can even begin to process? When life demands more than you can give at work, in your relationship, or at home, Talkspace can help. Talkspace provides convenient online access to therapy, psychiatry, and mental health support. Just answer a few questions online and Talkspace will match you with a licensed provider in less than 2 days, with some even offering same-day appointments. Chat with a therapist over live video, audio, or messaging so you can get mental health support that fits your lifestyle and schedule. No taking time off work, no commuting to an office, and no waiting room. Just support that meets you right where you are. Best of all, Talkspace is covered by most major insurance plans with an average copay of $15. Get space when you need it with Talkspace. And now you can get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com. That's Talkspace.com.
Welcome to Higher Health, the podcast that elevates your understanding of health beyond the conventional into a realm where mind, body, and spirit align. If you're ready to rise above the noise of traditional health approaches and connect deeply with your inner wisdom, you're in the right place. I'm Dr. Elizabeth Rodgers, a heart-centered, Harvard-trained epidemiologist, researcher, medical intuitive, and transformational health and longevity expert. In this space, we explore the profound journey of health and well-being, where every choice aligns with your highest self. Together, we'll unlock the true essence of being healthy, empowered, and whole. Welcome back to Higher Health with Dr. Elizabeth Rodgers. It's just you and me today for another heart-to-heart that Spirit and I have been so ready to share since the last episode. Today's episode is all about breaking one of the biggest myths we've been taught about health, and there are so many. I feel like everything almost that we've been taught about health is just a big fat lie, and we're going to course correct here on this show. But the myth that we are busting today is the myth that health and healing are opposites. I'm taking you deep inside my own personal journey today, the breakthroughs, the lessons, and the moment I realized that you can be healthy and healing at the same time. In fact, that's the key to making quantum leaps in your health. If you're ready to reclaim your power and create a whole new experience of health and healing, this is the episode for you. And in fact, this is the show for you. Higher Health is awesome. Higher Health is about creating a higher experience of health and life for ourselves, one where we are consciously and intentionally being so connected to ourselves, mind, body, and spirit, and a source, that we naturally make the choices in alignment with our highest and healthiest selves. And then living an experience of optimal and extraordinary health becomes the inevitable effect of this cause. On the last episode, I mentioned that Higher Health has also taught me that just like we get to choose our experience of health, we get to choose our experience of the other side of the coin, the healing. We can be healthy and healing at the exact same time. In fact, like I said, this is how we can make quantum leaps in our own healing and recovery when we have setbacks. If we remain healthy while we heal, it's not an either or situation. But society and culture, our programming, has done its best to lead us to believe that if we are healing, we are not healthy. And if we are healthy, we must not be actively healing, right? We're perfect. This is simply not the case at all, not ever. So if you're still carrying around this outdated programming, I hope this message will help you release it and create a new belief, one that ultimately supports your growth and your higher health. A recent experience I've had on my own journey is living proof of what I just shared. Now, if you've been listening to this podcast for any length of time, especially from the beginning of its evolution, then you know that my personal journey has been full of challenges that stem from childhood, leading up to my near death experience at the age of 23, which was followed by decades of battling chronic health issues on every level imaginable: physical, mental, emotional, social, spiritual, you name it. Unfortunately, I'm not exaggerating. And unfortunately, I've been through many surgeries during the last 20 years on the journey to save my own life. Every time I had a setback or surgery in my life until this year of 2025, I followed that old, outdated programming. I believed I was not healthy anymore because I was experiencing symptoms and pain. So then I believed I was unhealthy, which meant that I could only be healing, right? If I just had emergency surgery because my appendix was about to rupture the week before Thanksgiving, then clearly I must not have been healthy. And so that choice must be unavailable to me, leading me to conclude that my only option was healing so I could get back to being healthy again. Thankfully, higher health has taught me that this is simply not true. And side note, if you're wondering if the example that I shared about my appendix being removed the week before Thanksgiving is real, yes, it is. Another story for another day. Thankfully, higher health has taught me that this is simply not true. Here's how I know. About 5 weeks before I recorded this episode, I had surgery. Now, like I said, I've had a lot of surgeries, so I know the drill. Since health is off the table, it is time to switch into healing mode and accept the inevitable pain and suffering that comes along with the experience. Except that this time in 2025, that was not my experience. 2024 was exceptionally challenging, and it included living in constant, excruciating pain for the first 6 months of the year that started when a crown procedure at the dentist went wrong. Last year, I shared a play by play of some of my experience on the show, so you can go back and catch up on the story if you don't know it. But exceptionally challenging experiences are opportunities for exceptional growth. So I used the challenges that came my way in 2024 as opportunities to grow and allow higher health to teach me its lessons. And wow, did higher health show up for me when I was living in constant pain. And then other things in my life started to fall apart. I was faced with a lot of difficult decisions. Do I choose pain or do I choose love? Do I choose them or do I choose me? Do I choose the lies or do I go search for the truth? Do I choose healing or do I choose health? Do I choose fear or do I choose courage? There came a point for me last year when I was in so much pain on every level that I couldn't even bear to talk, move, or express emotion. All I could do was think and just be. While I was just being, I realized all I wanted was to be free, to be me, to be healthy. And for me, being me means being connected to myself, mind, body, and spirit, and to source, which higher health has taught us is what being truly healthy is. Connection is one of my highest values. And since I'm a values driven person, I intentionally live my life in alignment with those values. For me, my connection is what gives me life. It's everything. When I feel like my connection is clouded, or worse, when I feel disconnected, it is the worst feeling in the world to me. But I realized in that experience last year of being in too much pain to even speak or move, that when I was stuck in fear while having pain, I was disconnected from love, from source, and from myself. And that wasn't making the pain easier to handle or go away any faster. So, trapped inside of myself in pain, I decided to move my attention. I focused on the only things I had that were real: love and connection. I made my connection my focus and priority every moment. I spent all my time staying connected to myself, mind, body, and spirit, and to source. I only listened to my divine guidance. When pain got really loud and brought fear back around, I chose love instead. I chose to lean on my connection to myself and source in a way I never had. I chose to take a leap of faith and 100%, completely, blindly trust in my connection, my divine guidance. And I never looked back other than to reflect on the experiences I'd had so I could continue to learn the lessons that they had to offer me. I'm an A student, y'all, and I don't like to leave any assignments incomplete. Through it all, something changed. I did. As I continued to consciously choose my connection, myself, my health, my divine guidance over and over. Lessons that may have stayed locked for lifetimes opened themselves up for me. And one of the greatest of those was higher health. I didn't create or make up higher health. It was co-created through me in partnership with my connection, my source. While I actively chose connection over and over last year, I finally realized that connection was the key. It was the secret to everything we've ever wanted, including optimal health and longevity. Because it was connection, and always will be, to myself, mind, body, and spirit, and to source, that formed the foundation of everything and led to the kinds of decisions I would make about my health and my experience of it. It becomes much more difficult and eventually impossible to make choices that you absolutely know are not truly good for your health. Because when you're being connected, you're in tune with the truth of who and what you are. And the truth of who and what you are is love. And only optimal health can come from that place of love and connection. As I made my connection my top priority, I started coping with pain in a different way. I stopped trying to escape it, and I started accepting it. Because after all, maybe it was there for a reason. Maybe pain wants to teach us something so we can grow. So instead of trying to numb the pain or hide from it, I stayed connected while I let myself feel it. Then everything changed. Everything changed because of one thing: my connection. When we are connected, we are vibrating at a higher frequency. And so, of course, then we are attracting and creating an experience that matches that higher vibration. So even if pain or something we perceive as unwanted is a part of that current experience, it will be a better and more positive version of the experience because it can only be that way. So over the months to follow, I dove deeper into this work. I continued to choose higher health every day. Even though I always knew there was still another surgery ahead of me, I decided to just be connected no matter what. Because when we're being connected, we're being healthy. My connection brought me and continues to bring me countless gifts, just countless, including the realization that when we are connected to ourselves and source, we disconnect from the lies, fears, worries, and voices from the parts of us that carry the weight and trauma of the past. When we do this, then we can make space for ourselves to just be. And when we are just being, we're connected. And then the choices we make for ourselves and our health are made from the truth of who we are, not from fear or some other part of us that honestly doesn't really serve us, because it's either trying to protect us or it's been hurt in the past. I learned through this experience that when we are just being and we are connected, the rest of the universe and our bodies respond and show up for us. Through one of the most difficult times of my life so far, I became the healthiest I've ever been so far. And all I did was choose to be connected no matter what. Through my connection, I developed a new and powerful relationship with myself and my body, and I realized just how disconnected I was, and most people are, from ourselves. I realized that we really are in control of the experience we have of health and life, and it all starts with our ability to be connected. As I focused on my connection, I realized that my connection then began to guide me in my choices and actions. I wasn't letting lies society or anyone else told me to believe about myself or health guide me anymore. As I focused on my connection, fear got quieter and the real me started getting louder. And when I heard my voice, my divine guidance speak up, I recognized that voice. And do you know how she sounded? Healthy. She sounded healthy, calm, clear, courageous, confident, connected, creative, curious, and compassionate. She wasn't telling me to make choices that she knows undermine her health. Spoiler alert, this is something I know most of you do every day. And I know because I used to do it too. She wasn't telling me to make choices that she knows undermine her health, but that she'll just, quote, balance out or make up for another day. She didn't make excuses. She just effortlessly chooses the healthy choice because that's all she knows. There simply aren't any other options in the realm of availability or possibility for her. Choices that create the best experience of health for her are the only choices that align with her vibration. So that's all she is capable of. Higher health is all she can create. Wow. This connection shit is powerful. For real. So 2024 led me to this powerful, life-changing shift. I chose connection as my way of being when every other option was too painful to bear. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Thank God for pain. Entering 2025, I was transforming at a pace faster than ever before in my life because I decided to completely and permanently choose connection and divine guidance as my way of life. I turned to my connection for everything, and it never did and never will let me down or lead me away from the best and most optimal outcomes possible for all, including health. In this way, I started taking back control of my life and my experience of it. We get to create anything we decide to take 100% responsibility for. And once I took responsibility for my connection, I realized it was time to put this to the test. So I decided to claim higher health. I decided that the best and most extraordinary experience possible, better than my own dreams and imagination, is the only experience I'm willing to accept. I stayed connected. I let that be my guide. In one breath, one step, one day at a time. My life changed forever. I started telling the universe what I want my experience of health to be like and how I want to feel. And the universe supported me right back. And so did my body. Knowing I had another surgery coming this year, that was the beginning of the end of the painful experience that started at the dentist office in January 2024. I was honestly in no rush to get there. My goal was to go into surgery in a state of being optimally healthy. But I hadn't considered that I could decide to come out of surgery in a state of being optimally healthy too. Now, of course, I'm a human body here, so I absolutely felt some fear creeping up around the pending surgery. When they drill a hole in my jawbone, will I just wake up back in the excruciating pain I fought for almost a year to be free from? Will it all come back and last for another 6 months? Of course, some fearful thoughts ran through me. But here's what I didn't do. I did not choose to let those thoughts dominate my mind. When they'd come up, I would come back to my connection. Because when my mind, body, spirit, and source are all connected, I'm being healthy because I'm being connected. And only thoughts in alignment with that frequency can be created. Those thoughts remind me I get to decide how I want to feel after surgery. And here it is. A great lesson. When you're experiencing any kind of pain, symptom, or setback, including something more serious like surgery, you still get to decide what your experience is going to be like. So I asked myself, how do I want to feel after surgery? I want to feel strong, is what I immediately heard back. What kind of sensations do I want to feel around the area where I had surgery, which for me was my mouth? I didn't hear pain, I heard warm and relaxed. As I was learning and realizing that I could decide what I was going to feel like after surgery, I realized I didn't have to switch from one way of being to another. I didn't have to turn the health switch off and the healing switch on. They are two separate switches. I realized I could turn them both on at the same time. I could be healthy while I was healing. This might sound so simple, yet it felt so profound to me. I didn't have to get all numb and go into healing and survival mode, which is what I did every other time I had surgery in my life. And as a result, feel disconnected, which only made me feel even worse. I didn't have to cut myself off from my own health, which was just my own connection. Just because there was a challenge. Why hadn't I ever tried this before? Why do so many people not do this every day? So I got super connected and I let my connection guide me into and through surgery. I found myself being healthier than ever before, even leading up to the day before and the morning of surgery. I didn't feel the same sense of dread and fear and impending doom I had felt every time before a surgery approached. I felt positive, grateful, and courageous. I didn't go through the same prepping for surgery routine I did in the past, where I'd collect the things the old fearful me gathered to protect and numb herself once the pain arrived. I collected confidence and strength instead. I made different choices as I prepped for surgery. In the past, I didn't do anything to nurture my already burned out nervous system. I let the fear and anxiety keep me trapped in fight or flight, with my adrenals pumping out toxic and corrosive adrenaline because my system was so dysfunctional. This time, I was so connected, I could only take care of myself. I spent months prioritizing nervous system regulation before surgery. I took specific steps to regulate myself the day of surgery and post op. For the first time in my life, I woke up in recovery feeling totally calm and relaxed. And let me tell you, I am having an experience post op unlike any other I have had before in the very best of ways. You know how I felt after surgery? Strong. Why? Because that's what I decided before surgery. How did my mouth feel? Warm and relaxed. It really wasn't that painful. Why? Because that's what I decided before surgery. I told my body, this is what we would experience. And that's exactly what happened. For the first time in my life, I decided to trust myself, stay connected, and just be healthy. Even when I was going to do something that was challenging and required healing, and it actually turned out even better than I imagined. I have to tell you, I honestly couldn't believe it at first. Really, it almost felt too good to be true. Almost. What I learned is that we're shorting ourselves. We're cutting ourselves off from living a life that we've been told doesn't exist, so we label it, quote, too good to be true. But what if too good to be true is actually the truth? And we've been led to believe that we can't have it, so there's no use in trying. But there is. And you can have it, if that's what you want. And you are brave enough to take responsibility for creating it. What I've learned from higher health is that creating it isn't hard at all. That's another lie we've been sold. It's actually the easiest thing I've ever done in my life. And I'm sincerely not exaggerating. It's being connected. That's where it all starts and ends. As soon as I decided to be connected, I realized I was already being healthy because I was in the frequency that inevitably led me to make the choices in alignment with my healthiest self. As I made those choices and deepened my connection to myself and source, a whole new world opened up to me. The world of higher health. I'm just the one who opened the door and decided to walk through. Now I get to show the door to as many people as possible so you can see what's on the other side for you. I don't know exactly what you'll find, but I do know it's better than we can even dream of or imagine. And I do know it really does feel too good to be true at first, because it's such an unfamiliar feeling we were told wasn't real, like the tooth fairy. But I also eventually learned fairies are real too. So maybe that's another lesson of higher health. when we get connected, we get to learn that everything we thought we were and believed about what's possible for us and our health was wrong. So we can learn who and what we really are and what is really possible for us. And what I know for sure is the possibilities really are limitless. The next time you have a symptom, setback, surgery, or pain, I wonder what would happen if you decided to keep the health switch on when you turn the healing switch on. You get to be both at the same time. You get to collapse time. You get to have whatever experience you want. You just have to decide. And the way to do that is to just be. Be connected to yourself, mind, body, and spirit, and to source. When you're just being connected, you will make choices in alignment with your highest and healthiest self. And you just might blow your own damn mind, and the rest of the world's too. I sure hope so. I hope you're walking away from this episode feeling empowered and ready to step into your higher health. Remember, being healthy is a way of being. It's about being deeply connected to yourself, mind, body, and spirit, and to source, so you can make the choices that align with your healthiest and highest self. Healing doesn't mean you're not healthy. It's part of the journey, and you can absolutely claim both at once. If today's message spoke to you, please share it with someone who's ready to take their power back too. And as always, keep choosing higher health. Thank you so much for listening to Higher Health with Dr. Elizabeth Rodgers. If you enjoyed the show today, it would mean so very much to me if you subscribe to the show and leave an honest, positive review. You can easily subscribe by going to the upper right-hand corner of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Odyssey, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and press the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner. Also, be sure to sign up for my email list and join my private Substack community to get even more content, value, and support on your health and well-being journey. You'll find these links in the show notes. Sending you so much positive and supportive energy today. I really hope you can feel it.